Hello, here we are once again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are through this series of videos now exploring his philosophy, his disillusionism, his misalgic theory. And we are committing these longer weekly videos not to define concepts in an abstract way, but rather to analyze events as they develop, not from a journalistic point of view, of course, but from a philosophical standpoint. And we are now considering there's been a previous video on this matter, and probably there are going to be many more. We are considering what is it that we have learned about ourselves through the ongoing pandemic of COVID-19. We are in early December 2020 now, so we have some months already behind us with pandemic, with the lockdowns, and we are trying to understand, always from a disillusionist's point of view, what is it that we have learned about human condition and about the way we behave through these experiences. And we will now focus on what could be called the social aspects, the relationships, the meetings between humans. And what is it that we've learned? That's what we are going to ask Mookie today to explain for us.
Well, first of all, let me remind everybody what everybody knows. We are all under the same spell, the pandemic. And when I'm talking about spell, of course, as a disillusionist, I don't think it's a real spell, but we are all under the same suffering, all of us at the same time. So this permits us to see any changes that happens all over the world, shows us that it's not a question of temporality or regionality. Yes, the changes we're talking, and the first one, the ones that I would like to talk about this time, is how social we are, and what does it mean to be social. We all know that kids would like to go to school to meet their friends. I was an exception. I never wanted to go to school, no matter what. But most children, they are even anxious to go on September to school in March if you are in the southern hemisphere, and they mix and they're happy. And now you can even see children who would like to go back to school because they want to see their friends. They are very social, and it shows like it looks like we are all social people because children do that. But does this carry really after our teenager years are gone? And the answer apparently is not as much as we thought. We have been teleworking. We have been working from afar, at the distance, for a long time. This is not new. There are people who are in software. Some of them go to live to Bali and just work from there. We know that drones kill people in Iraq, and when the person who is driving the drone is sitting in a desert in Arizona. Yes, I mean, distance and working at a distance has been common. There are certain things that you cannot work at a distance. If you are a plumber, probably you need to be on site, and so there are many of those professions. In fact, we spoke about it last week when we spoke about the essential, all the stuff that is essential that we must have, and the pandemic showed us what is essential and what is not really. So the essential people have to probably go somewhere. Yes, so people who work in the electric company have to be there. They have to put the cables or repair any damages. They have to do it on site. But some of the people who work for the electric company, those who do invoicing, for example, could do it at home. Anybody who is doing, who is on any help desk can be at home. Almost everything that needs an office, does not need your presence. How do we know it? Because we did it this time. Now, it took a pandemic to make us change the basic rule that you go to work. Yes, I go to the office. In fact, when people will come to ask you for money for some charity at your home, you say, I gave at the office. That's going to be much harder to do that. So the office is everything. In fact, there is an amount of comedies based on the office. even on the office. So this has been everything is related to the office. But do we really wanted to go to the office, or we were just going because that was an inertial move, because everybody was going to the office? So I imitate them and I also go to the office. And my boss expecting to be on time at work, yes. So the whole thing was prepared for that. But Florencio, you have some numbers that I wanted to share with our audience about that.
We have discussed this offline before, but I think it's worth taking a look at them. For me, at least, it was sort of flabbergasting to learn. There was a study in the United States. It said 82% of businesses were willing to continue with some sort of distance, with some sort of remote working, even if the pandemic would absolutely and completely recede at any time soon. But what's most impressive, because that 82% you can explain in terms of cost reduction and other considerations, what was most impressive for me is that 98% of employees were willing to retain some distance and to keep on some remote work, even if the risk of COVID-19 completely disappear. So there's a gap there that shows that people are less willing to go back to the office, even less willing than their employers. I think this shows, if the numbers are correct, something in the direction that you are pointing, which is maybe we just went there, we just engaged in the activities that require face-to-face gatherings because we were used to do that, not because we really wanted to. And we shall see what happens if these inertial forces, as you describe them, get completely disrupted after the pandemic.
Well, but we have now certain things that we can already see the effect of not going to work. The effect, the personal effect on us, on me, on the person who sits at home. In this conversation, we are using Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
We are not normally we would have done it in person with the camera, and we're using Zoom, and Zoom is quite a primitive tool today. It's not because I say it; it's because Bill Gates says that. Bill Gates says that these tools are going to improve a lot in the coming months or years, and of course, you have to understand, one thing is to work for 2 or 3% of the workforce, like Zoom did, and the other is to make tools for 40, 50, 60, 70% of the workforce. So even if it's partial, as you say, if people will go once a week to see, maybe to talk face to face, even then you still need the other 4 days to work. So what happens? The problem, why it did happen? It took a pandemic to break our sleepwalking pattern. And here I want to explain. We were used to, and sleepwalking, I want to make it clear, it's not that we really sleepwalk, is we behave like we sleepwalk because we go through an inertial mode, and we do that. We have a chain of habits that we do it every day. So I will go downstairs at the same time, and I probably catch the bus at the same time, probably seeing the same bus driver, and I will see probably the same passenger. So, and then I will get off and I will go to the office and I will go on the elevator, and the elevator will go up, and then I will sit in my chair, and then I will speak with my neighbor at the table, and then I will go to the water to where they make the coffee and speak with other people and talk about the games and all that. But all that looked like almost a destiny. It was almost it was a destiny. I mean, you were destined to do that. So if you're going to stay in the same company or even in 3 different companies, you will be doing the same thing. But it took a pandemic to force us to stay home, to change our habits, and this is against all the players in the illusions, all the governmental officers who want us not to change our habits. Why? For many reasons, but the main one is economic. If we change our habits, that means and we start, for example, not needing to eat lunch outside, a part of the economy is gone. Gone, gone. These people who have restaurants who really cater to those people who go to work in the office, it's gone. So I'm sure that in Manhattan, all the restaurants that cater to the buildings, to the offices in both in downtown or in midtown, they are it's over for them. The business is gone. Maybe they will have a very little percentage of people who will continue to come, but that is gone. And this is just a small thing, just a small, because when I went to the office in the morning, yes, and I passed through the shop to the shop that sells t-shirts. I said, I need a t-shirt. Oh, maybe I should buy a t-shirt. And they will tell me, listen, we are on sale, so you can buy it. All that kind of incidental shopping, which was very important, is gone. It's gone. And it's gone because also Amazon or its competitors, all of them give you, unless you buy shoes, really, and you have a problem with your feet, like I do, you have to go to a shoe store, you can buy everything in Amazon. And then you realize you really don't need it because you're at home. You really don't need one more t-shirt. Yes, I mean, who are you going to show it to? In Zoom to somebody else? Maybe, but basically you're going to stay with the same clothes and continue to buy what you need, maybe a little bit more. I'm not saying that it's gone. There are stuff, on the other hand, that have stopped, that the pandemic has stopped, that you may not find a replacement. Going on a cruise, even though I think it will take some time to people, especially people of my age or older, to go on a cruise. They will be scared. We'll see if the pandemic remits. But if everything goes right, there is nothing else. I mean, you cannot cruise in your home, yes? Or you want to go to Paris. Yes, you can watch a picture of the Eiffel Tower, but it doesn't feel like you are there, and so forth. This kind of stuff will continue to exist. But to go on a business trip, to talk with people, finish, period. Because before that, you had to do it because the other guy expected that from you. But today, it's gone. So we have learned to sleepwalk in a way that makes superfluous a lot of stuff, including office buildings, who are going to convert, I am sure, into residential buildings, which will in turn will make cheaper to have an apartment, which the apartments then will be bigger because it's cheaper and they will be bigger. It will be even easier to do telework. Before I wanted to add one thing that I remember. In Sweden, you can take a year off when you have a child, if you're a man or if you're a woman. Of course, women normally took a year off, but men, how many of them took the year off? Only 10%. The rest, they prefer to go to work. That means on the sacrifice matrix, that there is a video on that I recommend to see, we speak about choosing one suffering on the other one. They prefer to go to work, to do that, just not to stay with the baby at home. That should really point exactly to the opposite of what I'm saying. But it didn't work. It doesn't happen. Look at the numbers you are talking about. People got accustomed. That's it. Now they are at home. Now they're in pajamas. Now they don't have to go to the office, to go to the water cooler and listen to stories they don't want to hear, or having to hide every time they have an itch somewhere that is not scratchable in public. I mean, just little things. And I gave it this as an example to show we're talking about small things and big things. What do you think, Florencio? Do you agree with me?
I do, but I wanted to ask you if you think the same happens with those sort of face-to-face interactions that were not out of necessity, such as buying stuff, such as working at an office, but those other face-to-face interactions that have to do, I don't know, maybe, I don't want to say pleasure in a nostalgic context, but maybe distraction or maybe just relief from conditions at home. What happens to those other gatherings that had to do with friends, clubs, bars, pubs? What do you think will happen with that?
No, I think that certain things will not change. I mean, if I want to see a friend, I can go to a pub and see them. This is also a possibility, but I agree. This is going back. In fact, every time they open cafes everywhere in the world, people just go into the cafes. They just stay there. I can see that in Buenos Aires. coffee shops are full, like never. They, of course, outside most of them, they never were, because people got stuck a long time in them. You know, at the end, the people you are in the office is like you're stuck in an elevator. Yes, we all want to get out of the elevator, but these people, you're stuck with them. It's not that they are your fellow travelers. Yes, they're stuck with you in an elevator. The office was something like that. This is different, but there is in the middle. There is, as you say, you hinted. Let's say the driver in the bus that I go every, and now I won't see him. He was there for my comfort. What do you mean for my comfort? It solidified the feeling that I am impervious to suffering because everything repeats itself, and since everything is the same, I will not suffer, because if I didn't suffer on Tuesday, why doing the same things I will suffer on Wednesday? I mean, so they were like post, points of references to that kind of thing. So the driver, the seller, the guy who sells you the newspaper, which of course now you don't need it, because before that maybe you read the newspaper in paper. Now nobody reads the newspaper, I guess, from now on, because you don't go to a newspaper office. Even if you go to fix your car, that you may need to go to take yourself to fix your car, that you cannot telework. Even then, remember that we have the biggest problem now is our mask. We have been interacting with people through a mask, through two masks. Yes, unless you are in South Dakota and you are suicidal, because they don't use masks. I understand, and then everybody gets sick. But so you wear a mask here, yes, in your face, and you talk through the mask, and your accent changes, even your accent. Yes, the whole thing. So now the masks are gone, but we already learned to stay at a distance. That's the new normal. The new normal is I talk to somebody 6 feet away. This is the normal. I have to say that in certain countries, 6 feet was normal. In Finland, people spoke 8 feet away. 6 feet is like that's intimate. But most countries, 6 feet is quite a lot. And you are not accustomed to talk a lot also. Even when you sit today in a coffee shop, like I sit in Buenos Aires with somebody, yes, I will be sitting with my mask unless we're drinking or eating. Or even fact, we will try that he will drink and then I keep my mask and then the other way around, so we will not infect each other. But this kind of thought that is start to being automatic, to go back, it took a pandemic to break a habit, to break the pattern of sleepwalking. We may need another pandemic-like event to give us back, which I don't know which will be.
It's quite unlikely.
Yes.
I think there are more things to analyze around this, but I hope we can do that in following videos, because
this is the second video we're doing on the effects of the pandemic, on what we know about us now because of the pandemic, and this is only the second, and of course we will see several others. But yes, we will talk about it probably not next week, because next week we have something else, but in a couple of weeks again.
Amazing, Ben. Looking forward to it.
See you next week.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.